I apologize for the fact that this is not a regular video where I'm speaking to the camera and then I'm having to do the video side of it piecemeal, but to the brethren, you understand it's critically important that I get this video done in a timely fashion, and I'm also repentant to the Lord that Jesus said I did not get this video done a month ago when He laid it on my heart. We do need to speak about National At Your Door Evangelism Day. Now, this is the most critical day in the year that you should be evangelizing. It is the easiest day in the year for you to be spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ that saves. Yes, of course, I'm talking about Halloween, All Hallows Eve. Now, a quick rundown. As Christians, we don't celebrate All Hallows Eve because it is the pagan, or actually the occultic or witchcraft druid defilement of a pagan high holy day, All Saints' Day, which is the worship of all the different gods, or gods of everything. For those of you that know what saints are like the paganized form where a saint is assigned to a different task. There's a saint for everything: selling your house, buying things, lost causes, you name it. There's a saint for it. So this is a pagan holy day that is being defiled by a druid or occultic witchcraft holy high day, All Hallows Eve. So we don't participate in either, but this is the perfect day of the year for you to evangelize, and no born-again Christian living anywhere around a city or community has any excuse not to participate. This is the only day of the year when people will bring their children to your door asking for stuff. They will accept almost anything you give them as long as you're giving them candy, and they will thank you for it when they're done. And I've been doing this for years, and I hope that if I'm unable to do it this year, that you out there will take this fight to the adversary, take advantage of his celebration, and make it a day where we do something for our God, Jesus the Christ. On Halloween night, people bring their children, teenagers show up, everybody comes to your door willingly accepting candy and other treats. So what you do is very simple. You make sure that you're well lit and have your tracts and candy ready, and when they come, give them both. Give them a couple pieces of candy and then give them a tract. Now, my recommendations are that you have straight evangelism tracts. This is not a day to go out and hand out tracts about how evil Halloween is. This is a day to hand out straight up evangelism, straight up gospel tracts. My recommendations are wayofthemaster.com or .org has some of the best tracts to hand out, because all we want are those tracts that give the gospel and that give the Ten Commandments. Because we know, as Paul told us, it was the law that brought me into a knowledge of sin. And it is the law that we give the sinner to remind them that they need to be saved. Jesus' sacrifice makes no sense if you're not a sinner. If you're not in sin, if you have not violated God's law, then you owe Him nothing, and you don't have to repent, and you don't need to be saved. But if you know that you've broken God's law, then you know that you need to be reconciled to Him, or repent to Him, or repay Him, or do something to meet His justice, and then you understand the need of Jesus as your vicarious sacrifice when He is presented to you. So this is what we do. This is an opportunity to share the gospel, but it's also an opportunity to plant the seeds. We do not sow and reap at the same time, in the same place, in the same minute. So this is a perfect opportunity. Now, a few tips on how to do things. I make sure that I'm well lit. You want the people to know that you're a trustworthy neighbor and you're a great place to come, and they can see you down the road. So if you're not on a well-lit street or well-lit neighborhood, or a bunch of your neighborhoods aren't handing out candy, you want to make sure you're well lit so that it attracts more and more people down there, and they can see what you're handing out, because there's nothing secret about what we're doing. What I do is I set up a canopy with a light underneath it. You can use a $35 shop light setup, or they may actually be $25 at your local discount hardware store, hanging in the top of the canopy. Or you can go for even cheaper. For $5, you can buy a $1 or $2 extension cord and two $1 screw-in light bulb plug-in outlets. And I'm going to try to have a picture posted of that. And you screw those two, use like 75 or want two 100-watt light bulbs if you're using those, or if you're using a fluorescent shop light, that's plenty of light. Just one dual shop light will do it. If not, then use two 75, at least 75-watt incandescent bulbs, and just simply put a hook up there or tie off a piece of string holding those two light bulbs up at the top of your canopy or to the side. If you don't have a canopy, you don't need one. Tie it up to the side so that you're well lit and the parents can see you, and you can interact with both the parents and the children, and as well the teenagers that come. Then I set up a card table and I put the candy out on it where they can see it. If you don't have too big a crowd, then you can let them choose, and you tell them choose one or two pieces of candy or three pieces of candy and let them have a choice. If not, you can hand it out yourself. The other thing is, I try when I can afford it to have chocolate candy, better candy than other people have. I know times are hard, so people don't have, the fanciest candy. Hey, if you're giving it away free, don't people aren't going to complain about it. But if you have nicer candy, people notice that, and they notice that you took the time out and cared enough to give their children a better quality candy. So having a little bit of chocolate there is great, but again, just let them choose one or two pieces of candy and then give them a tract or a coin. Now, I highly recommend for small children, little children that aren't going to be great readers but are going to be coin collectors, to have the Ten Commandments coin or the Ten Commandments penny. The coin has the gospel, the penny has just the Ten Commandments. Either is great for small children. The pressed penny or the Ten Commandments coin from wayofthemaster.org or wayofthemaster.com online store. You can get them now. There's just enough time to get them in. Now the other tracts you can give out that are really great from the Way of the Master website is for children. You can also give out $1 million bills, but you have to gauge their age because it does mention looking upon a woman to lust after her, and you don't want parents to have to explain it. So you want to make them age appropriate. Again, the coin is the best. It's flashy. Little kids love it. Don't give it to infants or toddlers. Anyone that's going to swallow it, give it to their parents for them. But for those that are up and about 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds, they're perfect. And you give them that coin, they're going to love it. You can also give them a tract for their parents, guys. If their parents, you ask if their parents are with them. If they say no, then say, hey, give this to your mommy or daddy, and give them a tract for their parents. And some of those that I recommend for the adults are the tickets to heaven. If you don't need a ticket to heaven, then tear this in half, and it's laminated so that it can't be torn in half. And those are great. Again, the $1 million bill if you want to go to the parents, but again, the tear it up ticket to heaven is one of the safest ones that is age appropriate that the parents can get a hold of. But give them a tract for their parents. If their parents are there, then go ahead at that point, because their parents are more than likely going to thank you for giving the stuff to their kids, and you can hand the parent the tract directly. And again, the tracts should all be gospel tracts. We're not here to talk about any doctrinal issue or even the evils of All Hallows Eve. Give them a gospel tract. We get one shot at them. They're coming to your door. Give them the gospel. You may never see them again. So you give them those tracts. Now, for in your community, maybe like mine, you may have a lot of illegal immigrants, like Hispanics. So this is definitely a time to reach out to them. Now, granted, if they're out on All Hallows Eve, they may not be devout Catholics, but don't miss the shot. Give them from BereanBeacon.org. That's BereanBeacon.org. Go get the What Every Catholic Should Know, and it's better to have it in Spanish. And if you can afford it, get the whole From Tradition to Truth in Spanish, which is Richard Bennett, ex-Catholic priest who was saved by the grace of God and came out of the Roman Catholic Church, his testimony about how God saved him in the Roman Catholic Church and why he had to leave that church. So if you can afford those, get them and give them out. If not, the very least, get the What Every Catholic Should Know in Spanish and get those out. He can get those to you. They can get those to you in time for Halloween. Tell them when ordering at Way of the Master or at beacon.org that you are ordering these for Halloween, to make sure they get to you in time. And get those in the hands of those Hispanic children. Tell them, if you know Spanish, it's even better. Tell them that tract is for their parents, and then give them a Ten Commandments coin. Or any other, if you can get any other Spanish thing. Don't assume they know Spanish, but if you can sometimes tell. And if they're a little bit hesitant or scared, if you say hola or you know, use any normal Spanish greeting and they respond to that, let them know these are for your parents and give them the tracts from BereanBeacon.org for their parents and take advantage of it. Maybe they're not Catholic, but maybe they have Catholic family and friends and they will share that. Maybe they're Christians and just take their kids out on Halloween anyway. They're professing Christians. Get them this tract and they may be wanting to witness to their own Catholic family members. Get these things in their hands. Get them gospel tracts. And that's what these tracts I'm describing are. And it is amazing, folks, they will thank you. So one day of the year that you can evangelize and they will thank you. The parents will thank you for giving them tracts. They'll thank you for giving their children candy and tracts. And I've never had anything thrown back at me. Not once. I've not even had parents come back and complain. But if they do, remember this. The gospel is an offense to everyone. Everyone, everyone. It is intended to be that way. If you were not offended by the gospel, then I'll wager anything you're not saved now. The gospel is that we all, like sheep, have gone astray, each unto our own way, that we are all evil sinners. I knew at the age of 10 years old that I had sinned against God because I was given his 10 commandments and shown just by reading them. I knew that I had broken more than one of his 10 commandments, and therefore I knew I had to answer to an angry God. People didn't have to threaten me. They didn't have to beat me over the head. I knew I had sinned against God and I wanted to make it right. So in this, we give them the gospel. It is an offense, but some will respond. And it is not our job to worry about the consequences of giving the gospel or whether or not it is received. It is our command and our standing order to go and preach the gospel to every living creature. We don't have a choice as to whether they accept it or not. We have nothing to do with what the message is. It is what God said it is, and that's it. So please, 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 folks, do not miss this perfect opportunity to evangelize, and there's no excuse because you don't have to do anything fancy. If you're in a neighborhood or you're so far out in the country no one comes to your house, go to your friend's house, go to your cousin's house, tell them, listen, can I set up a card table on your street where they come in? In my neighborhood, they bust the kids in. I get a shot at several hundred, if not 2,000 or 3,000 children and parents in less than 4 hours. You will never get a better evangelism opportunity because unlike a festival or a gathering or a street event where you're out there handing out stuff, these people each individually come to you with their hand out. There's never been a better opportunity to evangelize in the United States of America. So take full advantage of it. Again, if you want to do it up full blown, the items that you need would be a good shop light or rigged light with at least 2 fluorescent bulbs or 2 incandescent bulbs hanging from a canopy with a card table, and simply throw any kind of sheet or towel over it that's nice and clean that they can see everything's clean. Keep the candy in the original packaging. When you're emptying it out, tear the bags and dump them into the bowls where people can see you doing it. And then I put the tracts on the table right behind it and use it that way. That way the tracts are there and I keep a lot of them in my hands ready to go. Oh, the other tract that's great from wayofthemaster.com or Way of the Master website is there What Every Man Should Know About a Woman. When the guys are coming through there, especially if you're a guy, if you're a man, it's great that when you see teenage guys coming through to make a joke about it, give them the book and tell them, listen, man, this is what you need to know about women. Don't miss out on this. And hand them this tract. And for those of you that are familiar with it, it is an empty book. And the guys will immediately look at it and start laughing. And then they'll start showing it to their friends. And they'll all start reading it. And what's at the very back? The gospel. The only thing printed in it other than on the front that says, this is the book of what every man should know about a woman. On the back is the gospel. So it's the perfect opportunity to get them the gospel, and they're more than likely not going to throw it away because it's too much of a gag. That's what I love about the Way the Master tracts is they're so attractive to people that they simply won't get rid of them. And that's what you need in this case. So get that tract, get the Ticket to Heaven, tear it up if you don't need it. Look for other tracts. Everyone Most of theirs, almost all of theirs, are going to give the gospel, but that's the key. You can get the $1 million bills and the $1 billion bills. Those are great for any age. I would say from maybe 10 or 11 on up. That put those on the table, and a lot of the kids will accept that instead of the coin. Or I give them a choice coin or $1 million bill, and I give them an extra one for their parents sometimes. Those are great because they present the gospel. They get a lot of attention, and again, people don't want to throw them away. They want to keep it because it's such a gimmick. So have these tracks and have them ready, and be ready. You should be instant in season and out of season. You should be ready to evangelize at all times. You should already have these tracks, folks. So if you already have Bible tracks, then you're ready to go. You simply set up and do it. But for those of you who are not, you've got 15 days, maybe 14 from the time I get a chance to post this to get ready. But do it. If there are no excuses. If you don't have a card table, if you don't have anything else, then go stand out there and find anything that will support weight and do it. Borrow a neighbor's patio table, whatever it takes. There's no excuse not to get out there and hand out tracts and be a part of reaching the lost with the message of salvation from the Christ. Another thing to think about is for small children, you need to set up by daylight. You'll be amazed. They'll show up sometimes at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon with the toddlers and the smaller children. So you do want to set up by, say, be ready by 5 o'clock at the latest with your table and everything set up, but don't give up until you see everyone else shutting off their lights and there are no more traffic and no more kids, because they may go right on up. In some neighborhoods, your neighborhood may go right on up till 10 or 11 o'clock. And again, for me, I've never had them come in and bash. I don't use jack-o'-lanterns or pumpkins or anything like that. I do use like orange and purple containers or something that looks seasonal as far as Halloween would be for the candy containers. But I'm here to tell you, as long as the plastic containers or whatever you're putting them in or glass bowls, whatever you have, just use what you have. As long as they're clean and sanitary and folks can see that, then it's fine by them. They're not going to have a problem with that. See-through glass bowls are great. So if you've got old punch bowls, anything like that, just take advantage of it. But get set up before dark, and be prepared to stay till at least 9:30 or 10:30. But again, this is what we were born to do. This is what God bore us for when we were born again, is to spread His gospel. So take advantage of it. This is just too easy an evangelistic opportunity for us to pass up. So if I'm unable to do it, I hope that you brethren out there will multiply my efforts more than tenfold, and that we will reach thousands and thousands with the gospel on October 31st, 2011. So God bless you and keep you.